Hello guys, thank you so much for clicking into this video. Much appreciation. In today's video I want us to check or to learn how to make this pattern. It's one of the simplest pattern that you'll ever make if you get your pattern right. So I'm going to take you step by step on how to make this pattern and also to do the threading. Part one of the video will be how to do the pattern, and now the part two will do the threading step by step. For this kind of a pattern you need a 3 feet by 2 feet board. It could be a 9 ply or anything that is bigger than that. 9 ply I normally employ by this width. Yeah, this width here, mine is 9 ply. So we are going to dive in and do the pattern, and now after doing the pattern you join me for part 2 where now we'll be doing the threading. Okay, thank you so much, welcome. So to make this pattern, the unfortunate thing is that I didn't have a bigger board like the one I've used to make the pattern. Remember, I've used a 3 feet by 2 feet. I didn't have a bigger board to show you on how to make the pattern, and so I resorted on this board that I had somewhere in my room, but it's still going to serve the purpose. So remember guys, this one is just to show you how you go about the pattern, but when you're doing the geometry art, now the real thing, you'll need a wider board and a length one also, the 3 feet or 3 feet by 2 feet. Okay, so this one is just for illustration for the pattern. So to do the pattern you're going to need a straight ruler. Yeah, for my case I'll be using this. I like using this because I can get bigger measurement. I don't have a bigger ruler, but if you have the 15 centimeter ruler, it's still going to serve the purpose. You're also going to require some pencils or marker pen, whatever you need to draw your pattern. Also you can need a rubber, that is if you're using a pencil. And the last thing, the most important thing, you're going to need your board, that is the 3 feet by 2 feet board. The first thing is normally to identify the center of your board, yeah, and by so doing I'm going to do that right now. So I've identified the center of my board. Now when I'm doing this pattern, as you can see, I'm not starting exactly at the end of the board. I'm slightly pushing the pattern inside the board so that it's going to look nice. I've never tried a point whereby I'm starting at the end of the board. Maybe you can try that. So for my case, I normally come and I push my pattern where it's going to start inside the board. So instead of marking this end here, I push like in that case of 3 feet by 2 feet, I've pushed it 12 centimeter inside both ends, 12 centimeter, 12 centimeter. But in this case I want to push it 3 centimeter inside. So this is where my pattern is going to end, at that juncture. So there's this part here and there's this part here. I'm going to determine the center also. From this point to this point I get the center. From this point to this point I get the center. So that's why I told you I like using such a, I don't know, a feet. It's easy to work around with it with all the measuring. So I've also gotten the center of the 2 points. Yeah, so from this side I like stretching these 2 points. I make a dotted line. You're going to see the reason as to why. So that is it. So you've marked those 2 points. Now I have 4 points. This is the point whereby the pattern is going to end. Now this is the middle of your wave. Yeah, this is the middle of your wave, and this is the center of your board. Okay, this is where the 2 waves are going to meet. So after you've identified that, next thing is now to draw, and this is how I normally go about it. This is the point where I want my board to end, or my pattern to end, sorry. So I use a ruler, and I would like to mention that this is my way of making the pattern. Maybe you can find a more simple and easier way. This is just my way. If you don't have one, you can try it and see if it's easier to you. So I'm going to use a ruler, and I always like to dot it first. So my wave is going to start at that corner. I also use a ruler for this other side. Now this one normally helps me to make my wave to be consistent, and also to remember I'm just using my hand, so to get a uniform thing. So once I get that, I can now trace my curve. So you just trace it nicely like that. You do the same to this other side. Use your ruler, and you want your pattern to be consistent. So the same distance that you left here should be the same distance that you are going to leave here. So you can just use your ruler to determine what is the length that you left on this side, so that you can also apply it on this other side to have a consistent pattern. You don't want a pattern whereby one side it's bigger than the other one, or the other side it's curving than the other one. Okay, so that is the reason why. So you then use also the same to get the dotted line. After you've done that, you now just use your hand to trace the pattern. And I don't know why, if it's only me, that I always like it when it's like this. Yani, I always like to curve when the curve is facing me. So after you've made the straight line, it is always easier now to make the curve, because now you just make the curve. Okay, and it's going to be consistent. Try as much as possible, despite that you're using your hand, your plain hand, to get it to be even. And it is always easier to use a pencil, because for a pencil you can use a rubber if you find you want to make some corrections. So I prefer using a pencil rather than rather than a marker pen, but whichever way you choose, it's your choice. Okay, so you can see I have my pattern ready, and that is how I normally go about to make the pattern. As I told you, it's easier. If you have a straight ruler, get your straight lines along the center and also along the edge where the curve is ending, and then join those by a curve, just like that. Hope you've gotten it, guys. Sorry that I don't have a bigger board. It can be a little bit tricky to make the curve. When now, for this case, I was just using a smaller board, but when you're using a bigger board, it can be a little bit tricky, but it's just take your time to draw the pattern, and you'll end up with such a nice curve. So guys, join me in the next video whereby now we'll be doing the threading. Okay, thank you. Remember to hit the subscribe button and also to like the video. Thank you.